Today we're going over Blademaster, formerly known as Lanhi, going over all the recent changes in Op 5 and new best card setups for Horde and Escape. Gonna start off with the passive ability. It now has a bonus resist 30% to melee damage. Also, your kills with melee or bleed damage heal half of your max HP. So it's worth noting that if you've upped the perk for the HP, then you will get half of your new, it's not half of 100, it's half of your max HP. Let's go into the cards real quick. So she has a couple of new cards. Brutal Claw, which is very nice. This actually gives her the ability to do some damage at range. The claw already does a really good damage. Even in Master, if you activate and you get headshots, you can do pretty good damage with the claw. Another interesting card is the Energy Surge. Now, whether you're doing Horde Frenzy or you're doing a 50, what you can do, sometimes you'll get lucky and you'll be in a base and you'll have a tap real nearby where you can actually post up within 10 meters, and every time you're at full health, you'll get stim, and that is worth noting. You will need to be at full health and not in the red in order to start generating stim. But also, a tactic using this card is when you'll go and get the power taps at the end of the wave, instead of going to capture one, ideally you want to go to one where you can collect and then just wait there till you have to go back, and then you can go get a bunch of stim in between the waves and start off the next wave with a good amount of stim. I was doing that just with this level 3, and I was getting a bunch of stim in between the waves, which is pretty sweet. She does have one more additional claw, Blademaster. Because my character was already rank 20 from when they mistakenly released the rank 20 early and then took it back. Well, now I don't have this card, so I was unable to test it, but assuming it works as stated, it will be in the top 5. Each melee or bleed kill gives 25% melee damage for 15 seconds, which actually is really sweet in the melee build. But I'm going to get back to that. Let's go over some more of the recent changes. Her increased bleeding melee damage perk has been upped from 100 to 150. In the past, every time you went up a level, you would get 10% more bleed, starting at 0 and ending at 100. Now you start at 15 and you end at 150. I could take out a level 50 Swarmak with the mace, with a max level brawler, and a max level. I don't even think my bleed was maxed. I got extra money right before fighting her at the last wave. I think I ended up actually with only an 8 bleed, and I did 700,000 plus damage, and I didn't even break the mace on her before it died. So that 150 bleed is really crazy with the mace. So to start off with the best character or best card setups for Horde, we're going to go with first the melee build. So the melee build is Ambush, Thrill of the Hunt, Shock Shield, Brawler, and Blademaster. Alternatively, you can drop Ambush or Brutal Claw, so you have a little bit of range as well as your melee. Now, this would be meleeing for the first few waves and getting a mace and being very conservative, making sure the mace doesn't break because it's expensive, and pretty much just taking out a corridor, or you're basically playing safety. All the enemies that do come up right to the front lines, you'll quickly mace them and get back into cover. She is a real beast with lethal off. You can play her on Master in some maps and certain scenarios where you're basically doing what I just said. You're just macing one section and you're just waiting for enemies to come up and you're just macing them and then getting back into cover. And this card right here is really nice when you're playing on a lower level difficulty. You're just going to tear through enemies. A lot of the enemies, the bigger enemies, they're still going to take you multiple swings. But after you've killed the first one, then you got another 25% on the mace. And that's just going to allow you to tear through. I can't confirm that that card actually works properly and there's no bugs or no hidden features with that, because obviously I can't test it, it's locked. But if you know anything interesting about that card, please feel free to share here so others know and aware. Much appreciated if you do. And going on to a more versatile setup and just using the mace occasionally. So for this build, we won't be running Ambush. We'll be running Brutal Claw. I'm not going to actually change all the cards, but we'll be running Brutal Claw and Brawler because we do want, when we have the mace, we're going to be running the Claw, and then eventually, occasionally, we'll buy a mace to take out a boss or a section. Like, it is a really nice secondary. I tried the 60% extra GNASHER. It's just not that great for Master. If you're playing a low level difficulty, then you probably could easily get away with doing Brutal Claw and the GNASHER. But for high level difficulty Masters, I wouldn't recommend really the GNASHER card. It's barely good for the first few waves. You can do damage with it and post up with it, but I don't know. I would just rather use the claw and eventually get a mace when I really need to tear through enemies, high health enemies. But back onto it, going to go with the Brutal Claw Brawler. Thrill of the Hunt, because when we are meleeing enemies or we 1v1ing a boss with the mace, we want to continuously heal. So this gives us damage resistance and it gives us forced healing near bleeding enemies. And at this point, the first things you should be upping are our health, our health, bleed, and you actually up everything, but her health regen is the top priority. I go 1 on the damage resistance, get the damage resistance to like 3 or 4 within the first 15 perks I buy, and mostly health regeneration. Health regeneration really helps her stay alive. And with Thrill of the Hunt and your health regeneration up, you can really go in on targets. On Masters, you're going to have to, it'll give you enough survivability just to pop out Mace and get back into cover. But on if you got lethal off or lower level difficulties, you can be a lot more aggressive and tear through a whole section of enemies and then go back into cover. The next card, we're going to keep the Shock Shield. You can either go with Shock Shield to be more aggressive with the mace, and if you're playing more conservatively and going more with the claw and fighting more long range, then I'd probably go with Energy Surge and just get stim in between the waves. And our 5th card can remain Blade Dancer to tear through multiple enemies. Or you could run the Energy Surge and Shock Shield combo. So you could pop your ability before you go out in Mace and maybe tear through a few more enemies before you have to get back into cover. Her non-melee build is a little bit more versatile, and there is a little bit of picking and choosing. You can go between a couple of the cards. I would not drop the Claw, because that definitely gives her the range. Brawler gives her the ability to be a beast with the mace. Thrill of the Hunt gives her the ability to just go in on targets, especially 1v1ing high health bosses. But your other two are a little bit selective. You can pick Shock Shield. Energy Surge is good in between waves, and it's really nice if you happen to get that tap near where you want to post up or you could post up. Ambush isn't bad. National Mastery is okay. It's good for the first few waves, especially if you're good at pop shotting. Blade Dancer is good. You can tear through more enemies. And that's about it. I mean, you can run mid-range deflection too. On the flank, you really now have to hit them from the behind. You can no longer get the bonus damage from the side, so I wouldn't really recommend that one either. And on to Escape. Her Escape obviously is going to be a little bit versatile as well. It depends on the map, whether you're going to be staying in the Venom or not. If the map has claws, you're going to have ammo for the claw, but overall, you're still running Brawler, Thrill of the Hunt if you feel you are going to be in the Venom. The new card, Blade Dancer for sure. Probably mid-range deflection, and the 5th card of your choosing. Generally, that's like the go-to. Venom Blade, Venom Resistance if you're going to be in the Venom would be the start too. Then you would have Brawler Thrill of the Hunt for 3 and 4. And then your fifth card would probably depend on the map. And that's the best card setups for Horde and Escape, and everything recently changed with Lanhi. Once again, I apologize for not being able to comment on the Blade Dancer, but I kind of got screwed on it not unlocking, and apparently I can't do anything to unlock it. I sent a message into the forum and ticket in, but it looks like the response time is over 2 weeks, so who knows if and when I'll actually ever have this card. But if it works as it should, then I would definitely recommend it for the melee and potentially the non-melee build. And I hope that helps.